In this video, I will summarize all the bad things Brian Griffin has done in Family Guy. Make sure to watch until the end. Brian tore Rupert apart in Dog Bites Bear. For avid viewers of Family Guy, Rupert the teddy bear is a cherished and iconic companion for Stewie Griffin. To a baby like Stewie, Rupert is far more than just a stuffed toy. He represents a source of comfort, security, and companionship in a world that is often confusing and overwhelming. This special bond between a child and their favorite toy is a universal experience, as these objects often become steadfast friends that provide emotional support and a sense of familiarity.
I'll see you in the morning. Good night.
However, Brian Griffin's actions reveal a more troubling aspect of his character. Feeling overshadowed by Rupert's role in Stewie's life and seeking to regain some of the attention and affection he once enjoyed, Brian decides to act out in a drastic and hurtful manner. His frustration with the perceived neglect causes him to commit an unforgivable act. He deliberately tears Rupert apart.
Whoa, okay, that's fine. That's fair. No, I meant like my favorite tennis ball. You're comparing Rupert to a tennis ball? What is wrong with you?
This destructive behavior is not only a clear display of Brian's selfishness, but also a profound betrayal of the trust and emotional security that Rupert represents to Stewie. The act of destroying Rupert is deeply symbolic and indicative of Brian's deeper issues. It reflects his inability to cope with feelings of jealousy and inadequacy in a mature manner.
You know what? It wasn't an accident. I knew he wasn't a chew toy. I was sick of you talking to him all the time. I was sick of you complaining to him about me when I'm right there in the room. And I was sick of always playing second fiddle to that bear.
Rather than addressing his feelings directly or seeking a healthier way to reconnect with Stewie, Brian chooses to inflict pain and harm, disregarding the emotional impact it will have on the infant. Checking on Lois in Season 4, Episode 21. Brian's feelings for Lois are pretty much an open secret. Everyone knows, except, ironically, Lois herself, who often misses the clues. Although Brian generally avoids being as creepy as some of her other admirers, like Quagmire, he's not above being a bit sleazy now and then. Take the time when Lois was venting about Stewie biting her during feedings. Brian jumps in, offering to take a look because he's seen plenty of medical shows.
You see, the areola is very tender here, and I think one of his new teeth may have bitten down right on the duct.
I'm sorry, what?
While he does suggest that Lois start weaning Stewie, he only makes this recommendation after staring at her a bit longer than necessary. To top it off, his follow-up request is way over the line, showing just how far he's willing to push boundaries.
Any other problems you have too, like, for example, around your underpants that you want me to take a look at? I could take a look at that too.
Huh?
Please pull down your underpants.
Tricking Quagmire and Brian the Closer. Despite his intense dislike for Brian, Quagmire goes out of his way to cover the cost of Brian's teeth replacement surgery. This surprising gesture, given their strained relationship, is significant and highlights a rare moment of generosity.
That's my dentist. He'll bill me. I've got an account.
You got an account with a dentist?
He sells me nitrous at wholesale. I bang his wife.
With his new sparkling smile, Brian quickly secures a lucrative job as a real estate agent. However, instead of genuinely appreciating Quagmire's kindness, Brian decides to repay him in a deeply underhanded manner.
All I can say is, underpriced waterfront property that's guaranteed to appreciate in value. That's all I can say. Oh, wait, are you bothered by sorority noise, though?
He tricks Quagmire into purchasing some truly awful rundown properties. These are not just a bit dilapidated, they're in such poor condition that they require a fortune to repair and are essentially money pits.
Well, maybe it's still got a nice ocean view.
The harbor is poisoned. Damn it, Brian screwed me!
Brian is fully aware of the terrible deal Quagmire is getting, but proceeds with his deceitful plan anyway. As Quagmire begins to realize he's been duped, Brian avoids him, making it nearly impossible for Quagmire to escape the disastrous contracts.
Well, for the next 72 hours, I'm gonna be harder to find than a nice cat.
You need me to clean out your litter box? Mittens!
This whole scenario paints a vivid picture of Brian's character. It's one thing to be self-serving and sleazy, but Brian's actions are so malicious that they overshadow even Quagmire's most unsavory traits. Quagmire, despite his perverted behavior, did a decent thing by stepping up to help Brian when no one else would. Brian's betrayal and manipulation reveal just how low he is willing to sink. The way Brian repays Quagmire's generosity with such deceit makes Quagmire's intense hatred seem almost understandable. Brian's actions demonstrate a lack of moral integrity and gratitude, and his eventual comeuppance feels like a long overdue reckoning. The consequences he faces are not just fitting, but serve as a fitting end to his ungrateful and malicious behavior.
You're honest and direct and compassionate, and that is 72 hours.
Enjoy your crap hole, dumbass!
You son of a bitch!
Brian's deceit and underhanded tactics lead to a deserved downfall, highlighting the stark contrast between his actions and the genuine kindness Quagmire extended to him. Dating Quagmire X in Season 9, Episode 14. Brian got back at Quagmire in a pretty dramatic way by dating his ex-girlfriend Cheryl Teagues. He took things up a notch by making out with her right in front of Quagmire's face. Quagmire wasn't one to take this lying down, so he sought his own revenge by dating Brian's ex-girlfriend. This set the stage for a heated double date that quickly devolved into chaos. During the double date, tensions ran high, and it wasn't long before a full-blown argument erupted between Brian and Quagmire.
Hey, if you guys are so close, maybe Jillian should know that you teach a class in picking up women.
And Cheryl should know that you took that class.
Does Jillian know you're half Polish, Mr. Quagglecheck?
You son of a bitch!
The girls, fed up with the childish behavior of their dates, ended up breaking up with both men and left them alone. Both Brian and Quagmire were left feeling down after being dumped and decided to have a heart-to-heart about their ridiculous feud.
Hey, you know, maybe it took us stealing each other's girls to finally become friends.
Yeah, maybe.
As Quagmire was about to leave in his car, Brian asked for a ride, hoping to resolve things on a more amicable note. Quagmire, with a smirk, unlocked the car door, making Brian think he was being offered a lift. However, in a shocking twist, Quagmire drove off before Brian could get in. Quagmire then turned the car around and ran Brian over, sending him flying into the air. Brian had initiated this ongoing feud, and Quagmire's drastic response was his way of ending it once and for all. The incident highlighted the escalating nature of their rivalry and how far each was willing to go in their quest for revenge. Having an affair with Tori and Brokeback Swanson, Brian somehow managed to seduce a stunning woman named Tori, but there was a major catch. Tori was married to a Navy guy named Vic. Brian, always one to push boundaries, didn't think much of the potential fallout and went ahead with the affair. He was determined to be with Tori no matter the risk.
Your husband's a Navy SEAL? What the hell is going on here? What is this? Rough.
When Vic found out about the cheating, he was furious. With his military background, he took matters into his own hands. He captured Brian and ended up chaining him up outside a courthouse, which was a pretty brutal and humiliating situation. Brian was left in a real bind, stuck and vulnerable.
Oh, Tori, thank God. Listen, you gotta unchain me. Look what Vic did.
Tell me about it. He's lost his mind. That's why I'm gonna go stay with my mother in Baltimore and work at her wife's bar.
Wait, what?
Just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse for Brian, Stewie showed up and managed to rescue him. Stewie's intervention got Brian out of his dangerous predicament and saved him from further trouble.
Of course, sir. I'm so sorry. Here, take him.
Thank you. You're a great American.
But honestly, I don't think Brian deserved to be rescued. His reckless actions and complete disregard for the consequences of messing around with someone else's spouse meant he needed a hard lesson. Getting caught and facing the fallout would have been a more fitting punishment for his behavior. Stewie's help might have saved Brian from immediate danger, but it also meant Brian didn't have to fully confront the mess he'd created. Sometimes experiencing the full weight of your mistakes is the only way to really learn from them. Framing Martha in Season 16, Episode 7. Brian's antics are just as problematic in real life as they are online. At work, he notices a colleague named Martha. Brian also, who happens to be a bit of a Facebook stalker, constantly poking around and gathering personal details on everyone.
You know what, Brian? I will. Oh my God! Gross!
You scumbag!
Brian, ever the schemer and afraid of his own secrets being exposed, decides to frame Martha for something far worse. He plants drugs on her. This devious move gets Martha arrested, and the fallout from that situation is massive.
What is that?
Like you don't know. Cocaine. Glorious cocaine. Best thing ever.
You're gonna have to come with us. And Jeff, you might want to call your sponsor.
Martha, understandably furious about the betrayal and the mess Brian has caused in her life, doesn't take it lightly. In a heated moment of anger, she confronts Brian and ends up pushing him down a flight of stairs.
Ow! My leg is broken! Only thing I can possibly do is lick it repeatedly.
There we go. That's fixing it.
While it's a dramatic reaction, in the grand scheme of things, it feels a bit mild, considering the extent of Brian's manipulation and the trouble he's caused. It's clear that Brian's underhanded behavior and deceitful tactics have made him a prime candidate for some serious consequences, though what he faces might not fully match the severity of his actions. Meanwhile, this episode also sheds light on Peter's surprising toughness. In an unexpected twist, Peter finds himself in a one-on-one confrontation with Russian President Putin. This subplot adds an extra layer of intrigue to the episode, showing that while Brian is causing chaos and facing minimal repercussions, the show still manages to deliver some high-stakes drama. Peter's solo showdown with Putin is a wild and intense addition, highlighting a different kind of conflict that contrasts sharply with Brian's manipulative schemes. Encourage Meg's low self-esteem in Season 10, Episode 2. There was a storm, so the Griffins got a game. It's predictable when they take Meg out for fun.
I'm gonna finger bang the two of you at the same time! Bang, bang!
Hey, me too! Bang!
Oh, no one wants to get finger banged by you, Meg.
Why don't you just go do that to yourself, Meg?
But when Meg stood up to defend herself, telling the Griffin that she had had enough of the long suffering of the violent, miserable treatment that the Griffin family gave her.
I am sick of all you guys ganging up on me. You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg, that is the least fancy thing I have ever heard.
As a result, it caused the whole family to get upset, and they started to blame each other. Yes, it caused Meg feel regret and blame herself for being the source of all the trouble.
It's an important piece that maybe it's just my lot in life to provide. Maybe if I feel bad, they don't have to.
Instead of rejecting this self-destructive opinion, Brian agreed and praised Meg for having grown up. This is so awful because thanks to Brian, now Meg's self-esteem has been more lowered.
You know, that's incredibly noble and mature, Meg. You know, I think you might be the strongest person in this house.
You mean that, Brian?
Absolutely.
A So Not Faithful affair in Season 8, Episode 4. Aw man, that's rough with Brian, huh? It's like the dude can never catch a break when it comes to the dating scene. You'd think he'd have it all figured out by now, but nope, still stumbling all over the place. So let's break this down. Brian finally manages to land an older lady named Rita, and it seems like they're really hitting it off, you know. Must have been a nice change of pace for Brian, getting with someone more mature and experienced. But of course, his family just gotta go and mess that up by mocking him about it. Can a guy catch a break?
Hey, anybody make a Jessica Tandy joke yet?
No!
Awesome, I'll be right down.
Hey, Brian, who are you dating, Jessica Tandy?
Son of a bitch, damn it, Chris, I called that from upstairs.
Anyway, Brian's apparently so into Rita that he even proposes to her. Wow, dude's really going for it, huh?
Yes, Brian, I'll marry you.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Brian. We'll be upstairs.
Yo, Rita, you want in on this?
No, thanks. We just got engaged. I'm faithful to Brian now.
But then Rita ends up hurting her hip, and that's when things start to unravel. Guess Brian wasn't ready for all the extra care and responsibility that came with dating an older woman. So what does he do? He goes and hooks up with some random chick he meets at a bar. Real mature move there, Brian.
You want to have sex in the bathroom?
Oh gosh, what a treat. Yes, I would like that.
And of course, Rita sees right through his lame excuses and calls it quits. Can't say I blame her, to be honest. Brian might try to act all grown up, but at the end of the day, he's still just a dog, you know? Figuratively and literally, dude's got a lot of growing up to do, that's for sure. It's kinda sad, really. You'd think Brian would have learned from his past mistakes, but nope, he just keeps on repeating the same old patterns. Maybe he needs to take a long, hard look at himself and figure out what he really wants in a relationship, or maybe he's just destined to be the perpetual bachelor, forever stuck in this cycle of dating disasters. Either way, it's gonna be a wild ride watching him try to navigate the dating world. Can't wait to see what other hijinks he gets himself into next. Racism in Season 16, Episode 6. Oof, sounds like Brian's got some serious issues when it comes to race and his own biases, huh? This dude really paints himself as this super woke, enlightened progressive, but then his true colors come shining through every now and then. Not a good look, my friend. It's crazy how many times this keeps coming up for Brian, right? Like, the dude just can't seem to keep his foot out of his mouth when it comes to racial stuff. That tweet he sent that had the whole town turning against him. That's happened more than once. Sheesh. Talk about digging yourself into a hole.
Hey, are you at Dog Backwards from Twitter?
I am. Are you a fan?
You racist jerk! I hope you get foot and mouth disease!
The hell was that?
And then there's the other examples, that conversation with Stewie where his racist views on black men come out. Brian tries to blame it on his dad's influence, but come on, at a certain point you gotta take some responsibility for your own messed up mindset, you know? And the way he reacts when Stewie jokes that he might be part black. That's just telling, man. Dude's clearly got some deep-seated hangups and prejudices he's gotta work through. I mean, we all have our own preconceptions and biases that we need to address, but Brian seems to be on a whole other level. The worst part is he posts a tweet on social media making a huge conflict about racism. In result, send himself and a whole family into chaos.
Let me talk to Barbara.
She doesn't want to talk to you either. Nobody does. Not as long as you're living with that racist dog.
Even Meg and Chris get bullied at school, yet they did put on an epic fight and onslaught everyone in the school. It's kinda sad, really. He wants so badly to be seen as this super progressive, woke individual, but then his true colors keep bleeding through.
I've kissed a transsexual before. How many of you could say that? Where's my medal? I am so far left, I'm spinning in circles, you. Instead of killing myself, I should kill all of you!
You gotta wonder how much of that is just a front, you know? Like, is he even aware of how messed up some of his views are, or is he just in denial? Either way, it's clear Brian's got a lot of work to do when it comes to confronting his own racial biases and prejudices. Probably should start by, I don't know, actually listening to the people he claims to be an ally for, instead of just trying to virtue signal all the time. Baby steps, my man, baby steps. Being a bad father in Season 12, Episode 11. Yikes, sounds like Brian really dropped the ball as a father in that episode, huh? The appropriately titled Brian's a Bad Father. That pretty much says it all, doesn't it? It's messed up how little effort Brian put into being a part of his estranged son Dylan's life, you know? Like, the dude's own kid is out there making a name for himself on the Disney Channel.
You remember that weekend we watched TV together? Boy, little did I know how much that was gonna rub off.
Did we watch TV together?
And Brian couldn't even be bothered to be a real dad until he realized he could use Dylan's connections to his own advantage. Talk about selfish.
You want a job on my show?
Hey, don't put the universe's words in my mouth, okay?
I don't know, Dad. I've barely seen you in the past few years.
And then, instead of, I don't know, actually trying to bond with his son or make up for lost time, Brian just goes and pulls a bunch of arrogant stunts on the set, making all these changes and hogging all the good food from the craft services table. Sheesh, way to really stick it to the kid, Brian. Honestly, the episode title was being way too generous. Brian's a bad father. That's putting it mildly. This dude is barely a father at all, if we're being real.
You know what, Dad? I'm starting to think that you've just been using me to advance your career. God, you're a terrible father. I never want to see you again.
He practically disowned his own kid until he saw an opportunity to piggyback off Dylan's success and further his own stagnant writing career. Talk about priorities, am I right? It's just par for the course with Brian though, isn't it? He's always looking to exploit people and situations for his own gain, no matter who he has to step on in the process. And when it comes to his personal relationships, the guy is clearly struggling big time. Can't even be a decent dad to his own flesh and blood. Seducing Meg's Friend in Season 14, Episode 12. Oof, sounds like Brian really took his creepy behavior to a whole new level when he got obsessed with Meg's teenage friend Patty. That's just all kinds of messed up, even for a scummy guy like him.
Wow. Holy crap, that was Patty. She's got a smoking hot body.
Despite usually confining his shady antics towards adult women, in this case, Brian just couldn't resist going after this high school girl.
All right, we're out of here. Feel free to use the seat warmer. Keep that box hot.
Constantly hitting on her, accidentally bumping into Meg's friends, even taking Patty out on a date. The dude was really pulling out all the stops, huh?
Why are you so nice to me? Most guys never give me the time of day because I'm so plain looking.
Well, I'm not like most guys. I can see past that sweater. Speaking of which, why don't we get rid of that big old thing?
And sure, Patty might technically be an adult at 18, but she's still in high school. Meanwhile, Brian's basically seen as more of an adult in society, even though he's a dog, so the whole situation is just plain creepy. Thankfully, Meg put an end to this madness.
You're not dumpy. I was just saying that because I was worried you'd become popular and not want to be friends with us anymore.
Meg, I'm $18 into this evening, so can you maybe just get out of here?
Brian's blind date in Season 10, Episode 11.
Then why don't you tell me how they feel?
Next time. Some things are worth waiting for.
Wow, you're really a true gentleman.
Yep, not too many of us left.
Aw, man. Leave it to Brian to completely botch yet another attempt at finding love, huh? This dude really can't catch a break when it comes to his romantic life. So he meets this woman named Kate, who seems like a good match, until he finds out she hates dogs.
Ugh, our stupid neighbor's dog barks 24/7. God, I hate dogs.
Classic Brian move, trying to hide what he really is and putting on this whole charade to impress her. Bending over backwards, pulling off these fake feats during their dates, just desperately trying to keep up the ruse.
And stay away from my girlfriend.
Brian, I know karate too. I can help you.
You stay out of this, lady.
I got one. I think I got one.
And for a minute there, it almost works. That is, until he meets Kate's parents, who have perfect vision and immediately blow his cover. Busted as both a dog and a liar. Talk about a double whammy.
It smells like wet dog in here.
That is the smell of backed up, unreleased genital essence. As I said, he's been an amazing gentleman.
You'd think this would be the perfect opportunity for Brian to learn a valuable lesson about the importance of honesty in relationships, right? But nope, instead he decides to just double down on the deception, tricking Kate with a fake voice and exploiting her blindness all over again.
Hey, are you Kate?
Yes?
Hey, it's Noah from J-Date.
Oh my god, hi!
Brian really is his own worst enemy when it comes to love, isn't he? The dude just can't seem to get out of his own way. He's so desperate to find that connection, but he keeps sabotaging himself with these shady, underhanded tactics. When's he gonna learn that being honest and genuine is the way to go? Let his wife choke to death in Season 17, Episode 1. In a shocking two-part episode of Family Guy, the audience is taken on a twisted and tragic journey through Brian's disastrous marriage to a woman named Jess. The story starts off with Brian, the cynical and often self-absorbed talking dog, finding himself in an unexpected situation. He's getting married. Jess, Brian's new bride, is revealed to be a woman battling cancer.
Jess, I'll come right out and say it. The cancer did not respond to treatment and has spread throughout your body. You've got approximately 2 weeks left to live.
Oh my god.
Despite the somber circumstances, Brian goes through with the marriage, perhaps seeing it as an opportunity to finally settle down and have the stable relationship he's always claimed to desire.
I wish we had 1,000,000 years together. But what we have is this moment, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. With this ring, I vow to honor you and cherish you for the rest of the month.
However, as the events unfold, it becomes clear that Brian is anything but thrilled about this new chapter in his life. The first sign of trouble arises after Jess undergoes treatment and her cancer goes into remission.
Meaning what?
Meaning Jess is going to live.
Instead of being overjoyed by his wife's recovery, Brian becomes noticeably less enthusiastic about their marriage. The audience is left to wonder, does Brian truly care for Jess, or was he simply looking to fill a void in his life?
We really will be together forever! Forever and ever and ever!
As Jess regains her health, another issue arises, her appetite. Now that she can stomach more food, Jess begins to indulge, leading to significant weight gain. While this could be viewed as a positive sign of her improving condition, Brian seems indifferent, if not slightly annoyed by his wife's changing appearance.
Holy!
I know. My hair's growing back. What do you think?
You look like a baby doll found in hurricane rubble.
Aw, I'm your baby doll.
The tension comes to a head during a fateful dinner at a restaurant. The scene unfolds as Jess enthusiastically digs into a meal, seemingly oblivious to the fact that she is rapidly consuming more than her body can handle. Suddenly, she begins to choke, struggling to breathe as she desperately tries to clear her airway.
Well, I'm sorry it's so disgusting, but that's all they have.
At first, Brian appears oblivious to the severity of the situation, simply watching as his wife fights for her life. It's a painfully uncomfortable moment, as the audience is left to wonder if Brian will spring into action and save Jess, or if he will remain idle, lost in his own thoughts.
Oh, what, you gonna die if you have to eat mild salsa? Come on.
As the seconds tick by, it becomes increasingly clear that Brian is making no move to assist his choking wife. The realization slowly dawns on him, but instead of immediately calling for help, he hesitates. This delay, which feels like an eternity to the viewer, is ultimately Brian's downfall.
How do you do the Heimlich maneuver?
Come on, come on. Damn it, I've got one song by Heim on my phone, and every time I try to type Heimlich,
Jess eventually succumbs to the choking, her lifeless body collapsing onto the table as a horrified hush falls over the restaurant. Brian, now aware of the gravity of the situation, is left staring at his wife's motionless form, a mixture of shock and something akin to relief etched onto his face.
Oh my God, somebody call 911! Damn it, Fox, that's not an invitation to ruin our moment to expand your media empire.
Son of Zorn. Ha!
Infecting Stewie in Season 12, Episode 16.
Okay, your turn. I think we should hold hands more often.
There you go, we're blood brothers now.
The guy really takes things to a new low by infecting poor Stewie with herpes after doing a blood ritual together.
You bastard! You knew you had herpes and you still agreed to swap blood with me!
Look, relax, it's not that big a deal.
Not that big a deal! It's a disgusting, unsightly, unsavory disease and it lasts for life!
Not only that, but he's a repeat offender, having passed it on to Chris as well. Even for Brian, that's a whole new level of messed up.
Good Lord, you've got herpes too? This house is like backstage at a Whitesnake concert.
Not only that, but I also got it from Brian. We're blood brothers too.
Stewie and Brian have this special bond, being the show's most developed duo, but Brian just can't resist exploiting that connection for his own selfish ends. Belittling Stewie's creativity, treating him like dirt, this herpes stunt tops it all.
Oh my God! Your mouth looks like the underside of a boat!
You have to wonder what's going on in Brian's head. Does he just not care about anyone but himself? This betrayal is a pretty damning indictment of his character. At this point, it's tough to see if there's any hope left for Brian to change his ways. Knowing him, he'll probably find an even more despicable way to screw over Stewie and the rest of the Family Guy crew. Gotta love his consistency at least. Put Stewie and other kids in danger in Season 10, Episode 14. When entering the kindergarten, Brian was horrified by the situation at the school where Stewie was studying. The children were neglected terribly, even given knives. Some were given rusty nails to play with, and were forced to defecate in cans on the ground. Even more horrifying, one child was forced to write the distress signal "Save Us" in the blood of unconscious toddlers.
What happened to that kid? He fell off a stool trying to turn off Maury Povich.
Most terrifying of all, one child was even kidnapped by a passerby.
Hey, put him down! Who are you? I can't stop him! Can anyone stop him? No? Well, he's gone.
Just as Brian was about to intervene, Brian was overshadowed by the beauty of that beastly kindergarten teacher, Miss Emily. Brian immediately stopped this idea because in his mind, he only wanted to flirt and have sex with her.
Excuse me, are you Miss Emily?
Yeah, hi. Who are you?
Brian. Brian Steele. I was just dropping Stewie off.
What's worse is that Brian told Stewie she's doing a great job, even though Brian knew that wasn't true. Ignoring other children is reprehensible, but ignoring your best friend is much worse. Even when Stewie dislocated his joint, Brian calmly adjusted it himself when it should have been taken to the hospital and left to Dr. Hartman to handle.
Mom! You are not going anywhere. I finally have a date with Miss Emily tomorrow, and I'm not going to let you or anybody else get in my way until I have seen every inch of her naked.
The classroom was always filled with explosions in the kitchen, and adult sex TV shows and books were always within reach of the children. Brian finally called the police, but only after learning that Miss Emily had a boyfriend.
I'm probably just gonna take a couple more showers.
Who was that?
That's my boyfriend, Devin. Are you ready for lunch?
Worse, Brian showed himself to be more noble when he said, "There is a special place in hell for people like Miss Emily. In my opinion, they both should earn a special place in hell." Now you guys can understand why Quagmire hates and despises Brian, because in Quagmire's eyes, Brian is the ultimate hypocrite. This episode itself speaks for itself. Investing in protein production made from dog meat in Season 16, Episode 15.
Breathe deeply into this investor's rag.
All right. Now, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but, boo! Cocky.
I can't even with this mess. Let me get this straight. Brian and Stewie are out here playing the stock market game, right? And then Brian's greedy little butt decides he's got to get in on this shady new protein shake investment. The nerve, but when they dig a little deeper, they realize these so-called protein shakes are actually made from real live dogs.
When the Korean guy said shake, I thought he meant my paw. Then he said I was gonna be protein. I said, damn right, I'm very protein. I'm dating a 16-year-old. Oh boy, I tell you, I came in this place a purebred. Now I'm leaving it a puree.
You'd think Brian would be, I don't know, mortified or something, but no. This fool is still trying to go through with it just so he can line his pockets.
I'm taking a meeting. This company's worth a fortune. What? You still want to invest in this? You can't be serious. Sorry, Stewie. Wall Street is a people-eat-dog world. Everyone knows that.
Unbelievable. I mean, the fact that he's willing to profit off the consumption of his own kind is just downright sickening. It takes him getting caged up and almost becoming dog chow himself before he finally gets the picture that this whole thing is some seriously messed up ish.
Hey, give me that phone. Stewie, it's Brian. You gotta help me. I'm gonna get eaten. Damn it.
You know, I used to kind of feel bad for Brian, what with his whole unrequited love for Lois and all. But this right here just shows that the problem ain't his greed, it's Brian himself. He's got no moral compass, no sense of right and wrong. He'll step on anyone, even his own furry friends, just to make a quick buck. Disgusting. When will this mutt learn that money ain't everything, especially when it comes at the cost of your integrity? Ugh, I'm so done with him and his shady money-hungry ways. Someone needs to put this dog on a short leash before he does something even more despicable. Kill a wait for no reason in Season 10, Episode 20. Aw, hell nah, this is just straight up infuriating. So Stewie's out here trying to do a heroic little rescue mission, and he hands Brian a gun and silencer to help defend himself against those kidnappers. I get it, desperate times and all that, but then Brian, this irresponsible trigger-happy mutt, starts acting like he's in some kind of video game, getting all giddy about blasting those goons.
Oh, this is like a video game.
And if that wasn't bad enough, this fool goes and shoots an innocent freaking waiter on another boat.
Later, dink.
For no damn reason other than to show off his crackshot skills with that stupid smirk on his face. I mean, what the actual hell, Brian? That poor waiter didn't deserve to get caught in the crossfire of your little ego trip. And the fact that you wasted your last bullet on that senseless kill, leaving yourself defenseless against the bad guys, that's just plain idiotic. Ugh, I'm so mad I could spit. This isn't some game, Brian. These are real people's lives you're playing with, and now an innocent person is dead because you couldn't resist the urge to prove how big and bad you are with that gun. That waiter's blood is on your hands. You reckless, heartless jerk. I hope the guilt eats you alive, because that's the least you deserve for this senseless act of violence. Way to go, big shot. You really outdid yourself this time. Showing off as a hero in Season 15, Episode 3. Everyone knows that Brian is a self-absorbed, arrogant prick who desperately craves attention and validation. He deludes himself into thinking he's some kind of hero or savior, when in reality he's nothing more than a narcissistic, selfish coward. Recently, a woman was trapped in a car that was about to plummet into the deep sea. Brian, in his infinite heroism, jumped in to try and pull the car out.
Somebody help me! I'm sinking!
Hurry! I can't hold it!
But as soon as the poor woman mentioned she had a newborn baby inside, that pathetic excuse for a man just let go, allowing the car, the mother, and the defenseless infant to be swallowed by the dark abyss, snuffing out 2 innocent lives.
Let me just unstrap my baby.
Oh, slipping, sorry.
This is even more appalling and heartless than the most twisted, cynical DC comic storyline. Brian is a despicable human being who doesn't deserve to walk this earth. If there's any justice in the world, he'll have to live with the guilt of his cowardice and selfishness until the day he dies, rotting in the hell he's created for himself. Overall, Brian is a narcissistic, self-absorbed individual who is obsessed with portraying himself as a heroic savior. He deludes himself into believing he is a true gentleman and a selfless protector of the weak, when in reality, he is a cowardly, selfish man who only cares about his own ego and public image. Cannibalism Encouragement Season 11, Episode 1. Oh girl, you know when the Griffins decide to scale that whole Mount Everest situation, it's about to get messy, honey. And let me tell you, it does not disappoint. Not only do those smug fisherman clowns beat them to the punch, but the Griffins get stuck in some gnarly blizzard and run out of snacks. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Didn't I tell you to bring trail mix?
Yeah, but by that I thought you meant a set list of totally awesome tunes, which I do have.
I got the power!
And after this, it's Everybody Dance Now, and after that, it's Come Baby Come.
And just when you think things can't get any worse, they stumble across the dead body of that fishman brat, Ben. So what does our trusty pup Brian do? Suggest they chow down on the poor kid, of course. I mean, sure, the Griffins are desperate and starving, but Sis really went there without a second thought.
Or we could
Could what?
eat him.
Brian!
And the kicker, it's not even technically cannibalism for him. Girl, I don't know whether to be impressed or absolutely disgusted. Either way, you know this is about to go down in the Griffin family history as the most messed up Everest trip ever. Grab the popcorn, cause this is about to be another sequel of Cannibal Holocaust. Play it again, Brian, in Season 6, Episode 10.
This is gonna be great. A whole evening with Lois. We are gonna have such a fun time.
Lois, my darling.
A couple of steaks, some wine, maybe a couple of sundaes.
Lois, my darling.
Of course, Brian's behavior wasn't just a minor lapse in judgment, it was a full-blown ethical train wreck. I mean, come on, who in their right mind tries to make a move on their best friend's wife, even if her relationship status looks like a soap opera episode gone wrong? It's not like she's a free sample at a grocery store. She's a person with feelings and boundaries, and Brian just bulldozed right through them.
Oh my god, Brian, no! No, stop it! What are you doing?
I can't help myself, Lois. I know you're married to Peter, but I love you and I can't stand it anymore.
The dude must have misplaced his bro code handbook somewhere between his last impulse and his misguided feelings for Lois. It's as if he thought no was just a suggestion or a speed bump in his grand scheme of things. Seriously, Brian, it's time to get a clue and remember that common decency isn't on vacation just because you're feeling a little extra.
No! Stop scratching the door!
Okay,